Welcome back, hobby friends. Today is the part 2 of the cornhole boards. Today I'll show you how to paint it, how to put the polyurethane coat on, and how to make the bags. Let's get into it.
So the first step is cutting out the image. I opened mine in Adobe Acrobat Reader and printed it in poster format. This made it print over multiple sheets of paper and the image flows from sheet to sheet. I'm drawing the lines here over the white parts so I know exactly where I'm going to cut and make straight lines when I cut. So after I drew all the lines, I came through with an X-Acto knife and cut through to cut off all the white so that when I tape my images together, they'll combine like a puzzle to make a full image. So after I got mine taped together, I went and got it laminated, so that way I had the plastic on both sides of the paper and made it a little more sturdier for when cutting and when I'm going to paint. And all I'm doing here is cutting out the full image to use as a stencil. So to prime the board, I used this Kilz all-purpose primer. I used it on the board after I finished sanding it, wiped away the dust and debris, and then primed the whole thing, and I did 3 coats of that. Then for painting, I used this Behr paint. One was white, one was dark pewter, and one was nocturne blue. Next time I might just use spray paints. So I got a little ahead of myself here and forgot to film the actual painting part, but the primer, you just put the brush on and you paint it on the board back and forth. Now as for painting the design, I have a base layer of that dark pewter gray. Then I took the design and I traced it on top of that after it was dry. And I'm using the tape here to trace the design again onto pieces of tape that I'll cut out in the shape of the design so that I basically have a stencil I can paint over when I get to the painting of the design. Now the reason I do this is so that when I'm getting on the painting the design, I don't have to sit there and be extremely careful with the brush. I still have to be careful as to not let the paint bleed too much through the tape, but this way I can be a little less cautious and kind of just go back and forth with the paintbrush and paint over the design, and when I peel the tape up later, it'll have the design perfect. So now after you've painted over the design and the tape, you have to peel that tape up, but be careful with this so that you don't peel the paint away from where you just put it down. Now after I finished painting the boards, I used a polyurethane as a finish coat to protect the boards. I opted for the water-based here so that it would dry clear. Make sure you mix up the polyurethane thoroughly, and then I applied this pretty liberally, making sure I got every square inch of the board. Once you get the first coat on, or after every coat really, you have to let it dry for at least an hour before putting another coat on. After it's had about an hour to dry, I went through and put another 3 coats on. So next is making the bags. I was looking for duck cloth, but at Michael's I found this canvas fabric and I really liked the feel of it. It just felt right for a cornhole bag to me. So here I'm just cutting off the edge that the store clerk had cut because it wasn't the straightest, so I'm evening it out. Now that I've got the even edge, I mark 7 inches across because the cornhole bag is 6 inches by 6 inches. And I'm marking 7 across and drawing the lines 7 up so that I have 2 7-inch squares for each bag. Now I use those 7-inch marks to draw the lines for where I want to cut the bags. Now I just cut along those lines, making sure I cut through both layers of the fabric to make each square. Then I just did the same thing for the other color of fabric. Now for sewing the fabric together, I did have to use a denim needle and I had to increase the tension on the thread. I started a little bit away from the middle on one side and I'm just going to do a continuous stitch all the way around about a 1/2 inch in. Make sure to do a little back stitching at each corner to really lock it in. Now without lifting the needle out of the fabric, I just lifted the foot, rotated the fabric, pressed the foot down, and went back to sewing. Now once you've done the 3 full sides and you get back to the side that you started on, do not finish the sewing all the way up to where you started. You want to leave at least a 2-inch gap from the starting sewing so that you can fill the bag up with corn. Now I clipped off the inside of each corner before I inverted the bags so that when I invert the bags, each corner is a little better of a corner and it's not all bulky. Next is to flip the bag so that it's right side out. And when inverting the bag, I use the pencil. I just kind of use that to press up through the corner to get the corner all the way out. Then just repeat that 7 more times for the rest of the bags. Now for filling the bags, I used feed corn, and you need 2 cups in each one. So you might need a little help on this step. Luckily I had an extra hand around the house, so I used a piece of paper, a pretty thick piece of paper too, to make a makeshift funnel, and I stuck one into the bag, then I had my helper pour the rest of the corn into the bag to fill it up. After I got the bags filled, I put a couple needles in over the hole so that the corn doesn't spill out when I finish the sewing. And to finish this hole, I started about a half a centimeter in from the edge of the bag and just made sure I sewed over that entire 2-inch hole that I left. Make sure I backstitched on the beginning and end of the sewing.
So I thought of some things as I was building the whole project. I thought I would let you guys know of some things I might change if I made another one of these sets in the future. So let me show you. First thing here is the top board. It's only that 1/4-inch plywood, which it worked, and I think it's going to be tough enough. Some things just worry me that, with the bags constantly hitting it, it could get, I don't know, cracked or warped or something. So a way you could fix that while still getting that thin board is just getting another one of these 2x2s and just putting it straight across right here to strengthen up the frame. And when the bags hit it, it's got that extra reinforcement just right in the center because it's got nothing here. So I might actually do that to this one, is just put a strip of wood glue straight across and just drill that piece right into these 2 sideboards. Another thing is making these legs work as one single unit. So maybe putting a board from this leg to this leg so they both raise and lower at the same time instead of individually. I have seen people putting it on the side of the board. I just didn't want that bolt poking out on the side. I want it to be nice and flush. Last thing is carrying it. It's not really a problem for me at all, but one thing just to make it a little easier is maybe put a little handle on each one just on the side so that when you carry it, you can basically just pick it up, carry it like a briefcase, and be on your way. One more change I would do is maybe instead of 4 separate pieces for the frame, I would just connect each piece of the frame so I have a whole rectangle of a frame. Let me zoom out. I'd have a whole rectangle of a frame, and then I could just put the top right on there instead of doing it all individual or all 4 separate pieces.
So here I am actually putting that reinforcement piece of wood in the bottom of the board. Now, like I said, I'm starting out with that strip of glue just to help ensure it sticks, and I'm going to use a mallet actually because I cut that piece of wood so it fit a little tight in between the frame. I'm just going to pound it into the lines to make sure it fits perfectly. So now that I have that reinforcement piece pretty snug in there, I'm just drilling a pilot hole at about 45 degrees here. And I know there are much more professional ways of doing this, but this is just quick and easy. So now that I've got the pilot holes in there, I'm using a 1.5-inch screw, and I'm just screwing that piece to the frame. Now I'm making sure not to drill it too deep because I don't want to split that reinforcement piece.
Thank you for watching. If you liked the video, go ahead and like it, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, for more videos to come. If you have any questions, please leave a comment. I'm happy to answer any of them. If you want me to do any other projects, open to suggestions. Keep creating, keep doing, and hail to the hobbies.